So how do you figure out the price for commercial cleaning services for a building that you just did a walkthrough for? Well, that's what you're gonna learn right now. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt. I'm a 7-figure commercial cleaning CEO. We built our company from scratch all the way to over $1 million per year in less than 5 years. So I've been through this quoting process many times, and what you're about to see is a free training on how to use our free quote calculator, which is actually the exact same calculator that I used for many years when building our company up to that $1 million level and beyond. You can get access to this calculator in the link in the description down below. So go download it and let's dive in on how exactly to use this quote calculator to price your commercial cleaning contracts profitably so that you can win them as clients. So here we are inside of the free quote calculator. There's some links to some resources, but what you really need to know in here is that anything in yellow, any yellow highlighted cell is something that you can actually edit. Anything in green is just reporting a value that is meaningful to you. And then the blue areas are areas that you don't really want to mess with because they have equations and all this stuff on the back end to make the calculator work. Worst case scenario, if you do something wrong, you can always hit this undo button on your copy of it. That way it fixes it for you, or you can just go re-download it because it's a free calculator, right? So let's start with step 1 right here. And as we progress through these steps, you're going to see some of these numbers start changing. It's going to start producing stuff, but we got to walk through each of these accordingly so that we get what we're looking for. So first, we got to figure out our actual true cost per hour, because the rest of the quote calculator is going to be working on how many hours is it going to take to clean this building, because our biggest cost in commercial cleaning is that hourly labor. So based on what we pay our hourly labor, it's going to affect what our cost is. This is why you can't just go quote by the amount of square feet in a building. You can't say, oh, it's 20 cents a square foot, 25 cents a square foot, and just stick with that, because different markets have different rates and different facilities have different densities of things and different factors. So just pricing by square foot is not the safest route, not the most accurate route. So let's get your base hourly pay for your cleaner. So in this example here, these 2 yellow cells, what do they mean? This one is, what is the average market pay? So in your area, what do you see seems to be the average starting pay? Not maximum pay, not average of average pay, right? This is the average starting pay in your market. So for example, in here, we've got $13 per hour. Let's go to 14, right? You're going to see some of this change a little bit. And then do you want to start your cleaners a little bit higher? That way they have a bit more incentive to choose working with you as opposed to somewhere else. You can absolutely do that. So if you have a standard 10% markup over this, right? So you might say, well, I actually want to start my people at $15.40. So whenever they do come apply to work for me, I can say we start everyone at 10% above market rate. That's where you can do that. If you don't want to do that, you can always put a 0 there and roll with it as is, and you can adjust your hourly pay right there to be exact in that way. So it's up to you however you want to use that. Now, there's other factors to consider when you're paying employees, right? And even if you're using subcontractors, you need to consider this because these are costs on their end as well. So you might need to actually pay them a little bit higher of an hourly rate to cover these costs for them. So what we have here are your payroll liabilities, and it's coming up with your total rate. Now, this one is estimated a bit high here. That's by default, because I'd rather you expect your cost to be a little bit higher than anticipated, but you can drop it however you wish. You can look up each of these on the internet to see, especially the state unemployment insurance for which state you're operating in, because usually it cuts off as well, right? It might be for the first $20,000 that someone makes, there's going to be this unemployment rate applied to it, and then after they've earned beyond that $20,000, it's 0. Right? It's done. Federal, I'm not sure what the cutoff is now at the time of filming this video, but you can always look it up on Google as well. Now, Social Security and Medicare, it's called FICA. That is something that is continually a part of paychecks, and that is also applied right there, and that rate never changes unless law changes. Then you've got your workers' comp insurance, right? If you want to consider insurance in here, you can, or you can choose to not include it all in here. I prefer to, because most of the time your insurance is depending on the amount of labor in your business. Even your liability insurance, it's more so on your top line revenue, but even still, your top line revenue is strongly driven by what labor you're paying out. So once you get these numbers together, you're going to see that, okay, if I'm paying $15 an hour, because I have these payroll liabilities, my actual hourly cost to pay someone $15 an hour is going to be $17.71. Now that I have that hourly cost, we can go over here to estimate how long the building is going to take to clean. That way the calculator can figure out what your true cost is. Now, if you haven't done so, also go download our winning walkthrough checklist, and you will find that our winning walkthrough checklist will match what's going on right here inside of this calculator, because you can infer certain extra time expenses based on the presence of things. Here's what I mean by that. So let's take this line of desks right here, right? So we have quantity. So we got 20 desks, and how fast does it take to take care of that desk at the frequency of cleaning that's happening. So by default, the calculator has 0.75 minutes, which means it's about 45 seconds whenever you see a desk. So whenever you do see a desk in a commercial facility, what does it mean? It means that you've got a trash can to take care of. You might need to pull the chair out every once in a while and vacuum under it. But also, you're probably not going to be cleaning that entire office every single day, right? It's not like someone lives in that office like they live in a house. They're coming in, they're coming out. It's not super high traffic. So you'll have some monthly tasks, some weekly tasks, some daily checks. It's not going to take long for each office. So we have in here, whenever we see a desk, we put that in here, and then just an average speed that we see associated, that because that desk exists, this is how much more time cleaning is going to take. This same principle of inferring cleaning tasks is also true with toilets, right? Whenever we see a toilet in a bathroom, we know that there's going to be some scrubbing involved. We know that we're going to have to do some extra deep cleaning around it. We also know that there's probably going to be some partitions we need to take care of. There's going to be supplies that we need to refill inside the stall. So that's why per toilet in here, we have a cleaning speed of about 3 minutes. And it's also important to note here, because bathrooms have different amounts of units in them, we in our company personally don't like to track the number of bathrooms. We care about how many units overall are inside of a facility. So that's why you don't see a section for the number of bathrooms, because there could be a bathroom with 1 stall and there could be a bathroom with 20 stalls. So the units are what matter. Same with sinks here. These are sinks that are in bathrooms or anywhere else in the facility other than clinical rooms. You'll see there's a clinical room section right here. But you are free to change any of these, right? You could just name it anything. And you can change the quantity and you can change the speed of it right there. So all that you need to do first is take what you've counted from the facility and put it in here inside of the quantity. If you want to adjust any of the speeds for each of those, then you can absolutely do that. Now, as an important note, you may notice that glass faces here has 8 by it. Glass faces are simply what are we going to be cleaning inside the facility. And by default, for our company, we only mess on a daily basis with the entryway glass and any reception glass. These glass faces are not the windows that are going all around the building and all the way up the sides. That is a whole other project in itself. These are just what are we going to be spot cleaning on a daily basis. And you may notice it says glass faces. There's a difference here between a glass face and a glass pane. A glass pane is that entire piece of glass that's in the door, right? But a face is on each side of that pane. And the reason that we have this set for you to be glass faces is some buildings, they don't want you to clean the outside face of their glass. All that you're worried about is the inside face. Now, there's something else we need to be aware of here with this quote calculator, and that's that why does this lobby say it only takes 3 minutes to clean? Right? Like, isn't there a lot more to do in a lobby? There is, and actually that is what's considered up here. We've got the total square footage. So this area, as you can see here, it's got square footage, the percentage of carpet, and then automatically it's just going to say the other portion is hard floor. That is going to be the floor cleaning, right? So yes, lobbies typically take a good bit of time because there's so much to do with the floors. But that's already accounted for up here. Floors have already been factored in. So floors are not factored into these numbers down here. They are factored in already up here. So these tasks down here are like dusting, replenishing things, cleaning the glass. It's the basics of cleaning and wiping down. So this is the core cleaning that's going to be happening throughout the facility. One important note on floors here is if you measure out a building, let's just say you go wall to wall, right? And it gets you a square footage of 24,000 square feet. And let's go 10,000 square feet. See how it'll change. See, it adjusted the times and some things down here. So If the facility has that much square footage, you need to recognize that maybe not all of it is cleanable, right? Because you've got walls taking up some sections of it. You also have some furniture and some desks that aren't going to be moved, that block off certain areas. So by default, we typically subtract anywhere from 10 to 20% of the square footage that we measure from that number. So in this scenario, if we do a happy in between on that, we would go 8,500 square feet is actual cleanable square footage. And the reason this is important is because that adjusted what our time cost is going to be, right? So if you find that you're continually overbidding in certain scenarios, it might be that you're actually overestimating the amount of work. Yes, the building is large, but the amount of cleaning inside the building may not be as much as what you measured. Also with floors here, we've got the cleaning speed. So this carpet cleaning speed right here, that's just what a good average is. You can clean about 7,000 square feet per hour just doing vacuuming and cleaning carpet, right? Hard floor, this is sweeping and mopping. It takes more time because you have to sweep it and you have to mop it. So you can adjust these speeds based on what you think and the tools that you have could apply in the facility. But these are ours by default. Now let's explain what these other factors are, because again, these kind of things add time and add cost, and if you don't consider them, they can actually make your accounts unprofitable. So this first section of the other factors is you gotta have your staff setting up. You gotta have your staff closing out, and you're gonna be paying them for that time. So we need to know what we gotta charge for that time. Also, do we have a default travel charge in here that's gonna happen per cleaning? Task transitions, this is, yes, they're gonna have to be doing all of this stuff right here, but when they move from putting the vacuum up to then going to the hard floor part, or going from bathrooms, now I'm gonna go change the cart out and I'm gonna put some different things on it and go do some supplies, whatever it is, there's a time cost associated with that task transition. It's usually not very significant, but it is something to consider. And if you have a large team there, like 5 employees in a single facility, task transitions can produce quite a cost. So you wanna be sure to factor it in if you want to. And then down here, we have our other factors. It just says other right here, right? You can go through any of these rows and I can type in wipe down manager desk, right? So maybe the manager has a strange desk and they want it wiped down every single day. So it's one desk and it's going to take, let's say 45 seconds to do this wipe down. Now, if this was a weekly task, then I would just divide this by the number of cleanings per week, right? So if we're cleaning here 5 days per week, I would just do 0.75 divided by 5. So here's how that would pan out, right? We got 0.75 divided by the number of cleanings per week. That will be 0.15, and that breaks it down into that daily rate, 0.15, and it'll loop it into our whole cost. So you have the flexibility to customize this to however you want, use it how you wish, but also it comes with the core part of evaluating the biggest load of cleaning in a facility. Now, step 3 is very simple. This is where you just enter in the frequency. So that's the number of cleanings per week. So whether that's 3 cleanings per week, or that's going to be 4 cleanings per week, you can see the totals over here changing as I do that. 5 cleanings per week, 7, whatever it is. If it's a every other week cleaning, then you're looking at a decimal, right? You take the number of weeks in a month, which is 4.33, and you can work into how many cleanings per week there actually are. As far as the supply cost goes, I typically put in here 2 to 3% of the final price. So you may not be able to put this in just yet, and I'll show you how we work that out here in just a moment. Services, sales, tax rate. So if you're in a state like Texas, at least at the time of filming this right now, Texas has a sales tax on services. You can put that in here, right? Just be sure you do a decimal. So if it's 7%, you can throw that in there and you see how it adjusts the costs and data right here. So right here in North Carolina, though, we do not have a sales tax on services. So now we have our data in here now, so we can understand the cost of what it's going to take to clean this building. So now let's figure out what our markup needs to be and how much profit we can be expecting. To do this, we go to our target gross margin level. You'll see here that this says 19.72. It says weekly hours of 19.72 hours, because what it's doing is it's taking this weekly frequency and multiplying it by the amount of time per day over the number of cleanings, right? So if we look here, we see, all right, we've got a margin range. Here's 60% margin, 55% margin. So which margin range should we target? And we're going to carry that over here to this chart. This is saying weekly hours of 19.72. So we're going to find the range that it appears in. So based on my market and where I am at, we would be quoting at this 45% margin level. So that way we would go over here and find our 45%, right? Because we were here in this range. The 19 falls between 14 and 33, so that aligns with 45. So we're going to come over here to this 45 range, and this is showing me our monthly price that we at least want to consider for this quote. Now, what you must remember with this is that this is a calculator. It did not walk through the building with you. It doesn't know all the other factors about your business and about the customer. This is just it giving you an estimation based on what it is given. So take this with your own wisdom and apply it to your situation. So all that you do is take it up here and you would put in 3,021. I just won't do the cents right now. And you'll see what it's saying, right? So if we just want to make it 3,025, let's just do that, right? Because it's a yellow cell, we can edit it. We can see what our gross profit is and what our gross margin is. You can always go higher or lower, right? You're thinking, wow, I think this person's actually willing to pay a lot more for this. And you can see how your gross profit works out. You could also say, something's up with this. I'm thinking we need to go super tight. Now, obviously, in this scenario, I would not recommend going that tight in here, but you can see what happens to your gross margin and what you can expect based on the adjustments that you make. What was that, 3,025? There we go. Now, this is the number right here, by the way, that I use to determine my supply cost. So all that I do is I simply will go, let's say just 3,000 times 2%, right? So that's going to be my monthly supply cost in this scenario. If you think it should be higher, you can absolutely go higher. It adjusts the prices a little bit. It's not a huge deal. And if you decide based on the supply adjustment, if you want to go up or down some, you can absolutely go up or down some. So in this scenario, I might just go 2,900. There we go. Brings us to that 45 level. Now, what we can do with our price selected is we can come over to costs and data. It's got our total labor. So that's our monthly labor cost right there, right? Got our supply costs, sales tax. Let's say we're in, I forgot what Texas sales tax is, but there's our sales tax. It gives us our price if taxable. So in my state, we just charge $2,900. But if you're in Texas, you would need to be charging $3,074 and then paying your tax, right? You also have your speed or square feet per hour. So you can gauge if this is a medical facility, does this fall within a range that I think makes sense for medical? And you also still have your price per square foot on a monthly basis. So you still get that data, and you can always go back to your copies of the different quotes that you have done to understand the data. And that's where you can take buildings that are similar to ones that you've already quoted and you know that they're going well. And that's how you can get even more accurate with your estimations and move faster because, yeah, I can see this one was at 34 cents per square foot. This other one's almost the exact same scenario. So maybe we can start there and work up a little bit or down a little bit based on any specifics. Now, what about this over here? Why is this hourly rates and margin levels part even over here? So if we take our hourly rate over here that we had calculated in step one of 17.71. I know we're paying 15, but this is our actual cost here of paying an employee that much money per hour. So this table actually shows you, based on the hourly rate, what is the hourly rate of the margin you would want to target. So let's say you want to skip all of this. You're pretty confident about walking through a building. You know it's going to take 5 hours. It's going to take 2 people 2.5 hours to clean this thing. You're not going to try to figure out this whole decimal stuff and all this exact stuff. You just want to go right in really fast. Well, what you can do is just take your hourly cost, make sure it's accurate, and then you can apply the margin level that you want to target or you think makes sense for that size of an account. So if we're looking at 5 hours a night, that's about 20 hours a week. 25 hours a week. So that's probably the 45% level there. So all that we do is we take 32.2 per hour times how many hours are we cleaning a night? 5. So that's how much we're charging per day times however many cleanings per week times the number of weeks in a month. There we go. So that would be $3,485 per month if we were just going to go right off of our cost straight into a margin level and apply that hourly time to it. Look, it's important to know that even though this is just a calculator making some recommendations to you, it is still pretty accurate. And this is the exact same calculator that I use to build our commercial cleaning company up to the 7-figure level. Now, I didn't always go with the exact price that it showed, but it gave me a ballpark. And I used the other information that I knew about the client, and I just made slight adjustments and tweaks from there. Now, figuring out how to price a facility is only a part of winning them and adding them as a client. You also need to do the walkthrough properly, have a good sales process in place, have a good proposal presentation that you do. Those are things that are going to affect how well and how much they're willing to pay for your commercial cleaning services. If you want the entire blueprint so that you can price properly, quote properly, and win more accounts, and also operate your business on less than 5 hours per week, you can get that in the link down below. I'm here to help you out. My name is Matt. I'm your 7-figure commercial cleaning CEO. If this video was helpful, please like it. Please subscribe. Please share. Hope the calculator helps you win more and more commercial cleaning accounts. So until next time, keep building.